Thank you for joining us for Chatting in the Void, a conversational podcast hosted by Cthulhu Tilly and Hallik.
All right, we have a pretty new face on the stream.
Yes. Look at this beautiful man here. Looking so
Yes,
edgy, but we can't even see. You can tell he's very COVID prepared today.
Oh yeah.
I
did get COVID like a couple weeks ago, so I gotta make sure I don't pass it onto my friends.
Exactly. You can't see his eyes, so you can't tell if he is or isn't bloodshot from lack of sleep because of COVID days. And then he's got the mask on. But my parents are in Hawaii and they actually got tested positive for COVID in Hawaii.
Oh no.
So that's fun for them.
Oh man.
They're coming back tonight. So yeah.
Can't wait. You're gonna pick them up from the airport.
Yeah, I have to.
Yep, there it is. I knew it.
So, yay for me.
Lovely. Can't wait for Tully to be wearing a mask himself. Anyways, so for our viewers who are, for those who listen and don't actually watch the bot, I am currently testing my new VTuber model, but I am wearing glasses and a mask because I don't feel it's fair for those who are waiting for me to announce the debut before I fully show the whole thing.
That is true. That is true.
You can get a good
tomorrow. Is that
no? Because I'm still waiting. I'm waiting for one last fix. There's one last fix that I'm waiting for. But I looked at it, I approved it, and I'm literally waiting for this fix to go through, for the rigger to put the fix through, and to add one expression because one of the model was missing an expression that I had requested when they sent me the file. So that's it. So the fix is done. We're literally just waiting for the rigger to do the final expression, and it's ready to ship. So I'm hoping the debut will be probably Friday this week.
Right.
Because when I get the model, I still need to add a bunch of functionality. I have it written in my whiteboard. I need to do some Twitch redeem integrations. I've looked it up. I know what to do. It's just busy work, right?
Right.
So I don't want to try it in this model, and then turns out that I have to redo it again when I get the new model. I don't want to do any of that. Yeah. So, but I have it all prepared. I have the PowerPoint presentation for the debut ready too.
Amazing, lovely.
The new stream background, UI, panels, all that stuff. All that's been done for a while now. Excellent. All I'm missing is background music, like DMCA free or a free asset that I could use as background for. I'm going to be looking at that.
Well, I don't know. Have you heard the one for the podcast? Do you want to use it?
Yeah, of course.
It's pretty
I've heard it. But no, we got to keep the podcast its own brand,
It's true. So it's true. I agree.
Let's keep it separate. But I did want to ask you later. Yes. To give me where is it that you find all this stuff, because I have no idea.
Yeah, I can help out with that. There are a lot of sites that do non-copyright stuff, and the one that I used for the podcast sound, it actually marks which licensing each one is under, because sometimes for some of them it's the artist wants credit, some of them the artist is fine, just use it whatever you want, doesn't matter. Stuff like that. So it'll mark each one of those with different icons and stuff like that, and you can filter them out and stuff like that.
That will be super useful, and I kind of get that because that's the same thing that I've been going through with all this VTuber thing, trying to set up my stream, looking for assets because I cannot draw to save my life, so I have to rely on other people's talents. So I'm well aware of what all that means. Oh man. So the more astute of our viewers might notice that today indeed is not Saturday.
Yeah. I had friends out last night that I forgot.
Wait, Tully, you have friends?
I have friends that are not on the internet. I know. It shocks everyone when they first hear that I can actually make friends amazingly. Sometimes I'm surprised by it too, quite honestly.
Totally. I thought you and I, we were like one of a kin, you know. Now I have to find friends IRL, so I don't feel like I'm the only loser in this podcast. Damn it.
No, I have a couple of friends. I have a small group, and two of them came out. They're a married couple, and we hung out last night for a couple hours, and I made from scratch pizza, and we watched Sahara, and we watched The Italian Job because they came out for quite a while, and we got in the hot tub. It was a really good time.
I don't recognize any of those movie titles. Let's go.
Well, neither did they, and then I showed them to them, and they're both good movies, but for very different reasons. Yeah, Sahara is one of my favorite movies of all time. I've kind of had a week, and this next week is going to be really bad. But I have some exciting news. The first of which is I signed a lease. So and paid my deposit and first month's rent and all that shit. So that's exciting, but that is a huge chunk of money that just came out of my pocket.
Congratulations, Tully. One step forwards.
Yeah.
You know, one little bit at a time.
On my own, or at least with a roommate. Technically, I'm going to try to get a roommate. But you know, on top of that, this week I chipped 2 teeth and I have a dentist appointment.
What the fuck?
You know,
okay, you gotta tell us, how do you manage that, or did you just happen to wake up and they were chipped already?
No, so I bought a cookie from Crumble Cookies, which if you've never had Crumble Cookies, I have never had. They're so fucking good.
Well, clearly I don't. But go on.
I bought one. I bought 4 technically, but one of them was like a chocolate-based cookie, and it had rock candy on it.
What?
And so, because of a lot of things, one of which is genetic, I have a genetic disorder. It's called nail patella syndrome. My elbows are fucked up. A lot of my joints are fucked up. My thumbnails are fucked up. I don't have kneecaps. That's a fun little fact about me, everybody. And on top of that,
I swear, this fucking podcast, every week we learn something new about Tully. And it's never like a little detail. Hold on. It's never like a little detail with you, man. It's never like some casual little thing. It's like, oh, I have a spot here. Oh, I am allergic to this. No, it's always like the weirdest fucking shit. Yeah. What's up with you,
I'm
man?
a weird fucking person. Anyways, so I have this, and the other thing that it is tied to is it is a bone growth deformity genetic condition. So it affects some of the genes that cause bone growth, which is why I have bone spurs in my elbows. I can't fully extend my elbows. They extend to about like I think it's not quite 180, it's like 160 degrees, and then they stop there, and they won't go past that. So I can't hyperextend my elbows. My elbows are always hypoextended, even when they're fully extended. Anyways, because of the bone growth deformities, I actually have bone growth deformities in my teeth, which we did not figure out for a long time. Basically, it took, finding the right dentist who looked at my dentist x-rays and were like, your teeth are really fucking weird, and I don't know how anybody didn't spot this before. So there's that. And then stack that on top of my heavy addiction to caffeine, and then stack that on top of several years worth of depression and not taking care of my mouth. Brush your fucking teeth, people. Brush your teeth. Sir. Do it.
Yep.
Do not be like me.
Yep. I agree.
have 2 crowns. I'm probably going to have to get 2 more.
I chipped my wisdom tooth. I woke up one morning and I was just like, just trying to eat something, and I realized that there's a massive fucking hole on the side of my wisdom tooth. And because it's so far back, right? You don't really pass your tongue through there very often. But I did, and it was really sharp because I had just chipped it, so I actually cut my tongue on it.
Yep.
And that was not fun.
Did you get a sore on your tongue when you cut it?
Yeah. Yes.
Yep. So if you break a tooth and then you cut your tongue on it, you're almost guaranteed to get a sore there, because inside your tooth, what has caused your tooth to decay is bacteria, and that then causes your mouth to have a sore. So right now, the other thing that I'm dealing with is I have like 4 canker sores just all over my mouth right now, because there's so much bacteria in my mouth from that tooth that just broke, which is just a fun fact, but yay for me. Anyways, moving on from the disgusting. So the funny story is when I am having a week like I had, which was just a stressful work week mixed with all of the other things, and then the financial stress of moving out and having to go to the dentist next week, and that's going to cost me a lot of money. And then I also had to get my brakes done on my car. That also cost me a lot of money.
Oh yeah, we talked about that last one.
so stacking all of that together, I have had a super stressful week, and I hyperfixated on the movie Sahara. And I've watched it 16 times in the past 4 days.
It's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those times. Yeah.
It's one of those.
I've been there, man. For me, it wasn't even a good movie. It was a fucking Jackie Chan movie, like one of the bad ones, not even the good Jackie Chan movies. I watched it. I think it was called The Medallion. I watched it like 8 times one day. I didn't know what to do with myself.
I highly recommend everybody watch Sahara. I would not classify it as a good movie. It is an okay movie with one character, Al Giordino, who is the witty sidekick, who is the best character in the whole movie and literally saves the movie from disgrace. If he were not in that movie, it would be a F tier movie. But because he is in it, it's like B tier. It's like, okay. It's not amazing. It's not great. It's just like, it's a fun watch. It's also absolutely irrealistic and full of insanity. And so I highly recommend everyone watch it. At some point, maybe during the podcast, given the fact that I've watched it 16 times, I got the plot pretty much down pat. We might do a synopsis of it real quick if people think that might be interesting, but highly recommend it. Really funny movie for sure. Anyways, yeah, so that's been my past couple days. So then they came out, I watched Sahara with them, and then I made pizza crust from scratch, and we just made pizza from scratch, and it was really delicious. So it was okay.
Can you actually by the sounds of it, Tully, sounds to me like you cannot actually afford to get sick this week.
No, I can't. I definitely cannot afford to get sick this week.
So it is, in my opinion, that you should give your parents a call and be like, this is what's going on. You guys have COVID. I'll pay for the Uber.
I don't even have the money to pay for the Uber right now. That's part of the problem.
Oh shit. Oh no.
I have to go to the dentist. If I pay for an Uber, for an hour and a half long Uber, yeah, it's like
$200.
Yeah, that's like $200 that I don't have. So yeah, I'm just gonna go pick them up and I'm gonna pray. Supposedly they said that they are not symptomatic anymore.
Oh, okay.
I had a phone conversation with them yesterday, and they're not symptomatic anymore. And also, if they tested positive on Tuesday of this week, of this past week.
Oh, okay, but no, they're still they're still contagious at that point, man.
Well, we don't know because they tested positive that day. They were probably sick before that.
But they were sick before that. I understand, man. Yeah.
And I took them to the airport on last Saturday morning. So if I was going to get sick, I think I already would have gotten sick.
No, dude, 100% they got sick over there. Because the same thing happened with my mom. She went on her vacation to the Caribbean in Mexico. And she caught it there, came here, had a dry cough, and then I got COVID.
Right.
So, no, it's the plane, man. That's where it all happens.
Probably. I'm vaccinated and...
Yeah, nice.
If I test positive, I'll just work from home.
I guess that's fine.
Reschedule my dentist appointments if I start to feel anything. So as long as it's not as bad. The first time I got COVID, I was really out of it, but I'm vaccinated now. The first time I caught COVID, I was vaccinated.
I had a wild ride on my first time with COVID. Yeah, I am vaccinated, Bill. What's up, man? Hi, I only have the first the first round of vaccines, like the first shot and the second shot. I never got a reinforcement shot though. Yeah, the booster. I never got it.
I never got a booster either, but I'm also really not that worried about it at this point in time.
If I survive,
I've caught it twice without the vaccine, so
Jesus Christ.
I think I'm pretty covered between my 2 infections and also the vaccine. Because I caught it in the very first wave that hit the US. We learned,
ladies and gentlemen, how is this man alive? We're witnessing a miracle every time Tully wakes up in the morning.
Yeah.
It's like we need to make a little prayer. That's how we know. Yeah. That's how we know God really exists, is because this man is sitting here with us right now, talking to you.
I may or may not have been one of the first spreaders of COVID, because at the end of 2020, we went to Hungary and we traveled around Europe as a family, and we went to Hungary, Germany, and Italy. And we were literally smack dab in the center of the hot zone in Italy that popped up. Like, literally a month.
You just reminded me of an interesting little story that I have. I don't know if I've mentioned this. I think I've talked to my friends, but I don't think I've done it in this podcast. When I used to, before a long time ago, there was this whole swine flu outbreak, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that was like the softer version of COVID, right?
Yeah.
So the first registered case for that actually happened in my high school, in my private high school, and it was hilarious. Actually, my brother knew the kid who was in I think it was in the same classroom as him. And what had happened is that the kid and the kid's mother had gone to Miami to get a medical procedure done. They had come back and they had caught it there. Now, what had happened was that day in school, we all got called into an assembly. Because, when someone is discovered to be the first case of a really contagious disease, the first thing that the authorities at the school thought of was to gather everybody in one fucking spot. Anyways.
Right.
So we're all sitting there in the assembly. Like, it was the middle of class, right? We're supposed to be having class, but no, they call us, and everybody's there, and nobody knows what the fuck is going on. Like, everybody's confused. The teachers are confused, the students are confused, everybody's confused. So we're all sitting there, and in comes the Minister of Health of the country, all right? Not, this is like a big politician, and he's like, all right, guys, this is what happened earlier today. One of your classmates happened to have caught the disease, and it's confirmed. And oh my god, it became such a big deal. But we were basically told, just go home. So we went home, right?
Yeah.
We went home, and oh my lord, the news were already on the case. Holy shit! We were leaving, and I think it was a Friday, right? But literally the very next day, I hear from a group of friends that they had gone to the movies, right? I had gone to the movies, and one of the movie theater employees recognized that the kids were from our private school because, I don't know. What they did is that they gave them a private room. They gave them a private room to watch movies, so that they don't actually go into the other areas, even though they knew that they weren't infected, but they didn't care because they didn't want to like alert other people, right?
So they just gave them a private theater.
They gave them a private theater. It's like, here you go, guys. Just watch your movie here, and they gave him free snacks, free everything. It's just like,
just don't tell anyone you were here.
Exactly, just don't tell anybody you're here. That's 14-year-old hush snacks. Yeah, the shit was hilarious. Like, I wanted to go to the movies after that. see if I could pull that off too. But the week after, oh my god, it was hilarious because the other, we were in the streets, we were on the bus. We were coming from school back to home, and I was in the school bus. And other kids from other school buses would like make fun of us as we were passing by them. Like, we would be at a stop, and then the two school buses would be like right next to each other, and the other kids would be like doing gang signs, putting like an X sign with their arms. They were making fun of us because they thought that we were sick. Oh my god, shit was hilarious.
I remember the swine flu, and I remember it's very interesting because okay, so this is my personal story of growing up in a private school and then getting out into the world, and I'm not really going to weigh in. I don't really care which one is right or wrong. I'm not going to say, but what I do think is funny is I remember in swine flu season at my school, there was one family that quarantined. One. There's one family that was like, oh God, this is going to be a big deal. We got to quarantine. Took their kids out of school, locked off, like, and didn't go anywhere and did all their homework and had like friends dropping off homework in the classroom and stuff like that, which always weirded me out because I was like, if you can meet with your friends to give them your homework, just fucking come to school. How is that different? Even then, right? And then now, right, with COVID, it's funny to me because it's like the complete opposite is like everybody quarantined except like the oddballs. The oddballs were the ones who were like, no, fuck that shit. But back in swine flu, the people who didn't quarantine were the norm and the people who quarantined were odd. And during COVID, the people who didn't quarantine were odd and the people who did quarantine were the norm. And I think that's kind of like a fascinating culture shift that only happened in like the past, gosh, like
it is a big culture shift. Yeah, and it has to do, I think, you know, this is just my very initial shot in the dark. Yeah, it has to do with the fact that the boomer generation has gotten used to internet and social media. Yep. Right, because before that, the only disinformation they could be affected by is whatever's in the newspapers, right? Yep. But now, like everybody's on social media. Your mom, your grandma, everyone from all group ages. So as that has expanded, they have become more susceptible to to that level, to that kind of disinformation. So I think that's why. 100%. Yeah, that would be my first guess.
100%. I also think there's been an interesting transition in the trust level of the authorities where it's like, I feel like now the difference is bigger where it's like, it used to be everybody kind of only somewhat trusted the people in charge. And now it's very polarized. Like back when I was younger, I feel like everybody was like, yeah, but like be reasonable about it. Like trust them, but like not really, like understand that they'll lie because they're politicians. But now it's like there's this disparity of some people who are like politicians never lie for some reason, even though it's like they're caught all the time doing it and they just trust them blindly.
There's like dedicated. There's dedicated websites there that fact check politicians all the time. They even give them a rating as to how often. Yeah, as to how often they lie.
Exactly. And then there's like the group of people that are like, politicians never tell the truth. And there's now like this disparity, this separation that where it used to be like most people were like, yeah, like kinda, but also be smart about it. And now it's just very, very separated. It's very, 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 very big disparity in those two different groups of people, I find. I think that's a very interesting shift. And maybe that existed back then and I just wasn't aware of it because I was too young. But I definitely feel like it's become more polarized. The trust and not trust has become way more polarized in
it's like team A or team B kind of things, like team blue, team red, Democrats, Republicans. It could be not exactly like that, but it's just like you're either with me or you're against me kind of mentality. It's like, there's no middle ground. There's no like, okay, let's think about this a little bit more. You know, it's like I'm either right or you're wrong kind of thing. It's more sided.
I feel I definitely think Belk hit the nail on the nose right there with it's just everything's become more decisive. And I think it's kind of interesting, but that's just an interesting, like, it's weird to me that it's like, oh, back when I was a kid, nobody would have quarantined during COVID. But now everybody did quarantine. And the whack part about it is the statistics that we know, like what we have seen, and obviously it's really hard to determine because there's such a large myriad of factors, but the statistics that we know basically say that the quarantine does not prevent people from getting sick. It lengthens the amount of time it takes everybody to get sick, if that makes sense. So,
well, the whole point of the quarantine, I believe, was not, like you said, to prevent people from getting sick, but to prevent the health care system from being overwhelmed.
Yeah, from collapsing.
Because that was what was killing people more than, like, you know, when the outbreak first began and started getting really bad. What started killing people was not the sickness itself. It's just that the hospitals and the healthcare facilities were just so overwhelmed that they couldn't properly take care of them. So there were a lot of preventable deaths because the spread was just too fast. So that was the whole 100%. Point of masks, of quarantining, of social distancing, is not to prevent 100% the spread, but to delay it. It happens little by little instead of all in one bulk, and then people die because nobody can get to them. You know?
Exactly. There was even in the original, when we were originally talking about the quarantine, it was 2 weeks to slow the spread. That was the moniker that was used, but then it turned in from 2 weeks to slow the spread to 2 months to slow the spread to 2 years to slow the spread.
Now. Yeah.
And it's like, and now the interesting thing is now, obviously, I'm pretty sure that most people just don't even care about the quarantine anymore.
No, absolutely not.
I don't know. I mean, like, I get the feeling right now with the people that I've talked to that if this ever happens again, they won't quarantine, because this time they quarantined and then it just kept on going on and on and on. And nobody let them get out of quarantine until people were finally just like, fuck it, I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. And just stopped it manually. But the government was like, no, you have to quarantine. So next time it's like they won't even do that. They won't even follow the rule to begin with. And so it's very interesting.
I don't know if people would actually just straight up not do it.
I don't know either. That's what I get. But, you know, it probably won't happen for another decade.
Or so, yeah. Like every decade we have like that one sickness everybody has to like stay in for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the rules were too lasting and extreme. They were very extreme, yes, but the mortality rate was something that was higher than what we saw, for example, with the swine flu. And what's funny too is that, you know, scientists, you know, people who study, you know, pandemics, they've known for a long time now that something like this was just bound to happen. It wasn't a matter of if, but rather when, right? And again, COVID is not going to be the last pandemic. No, absolutely not. There's going to be another one. Maybe not as bad as COVID, maybe even worse than COVID, nobody knows. But I don't know, I think it's hard to say that everybody would be like, nah, fuck this shit, we're just going to do whatever we want, because obviously it depends on the severity of the sickness itself. 100%. Right? If the mortality rate is like 3 times higher than that of COVID, then you sure bet your ass people are gonna stay indoors.
Yes,
you know.
I mean, that's almost Spanish flu level at that point, which is really bad. Which is interesting because I actually wanted to get into this. I read a scientific article early on during the COVID outbreak that was kind of an analysis, and not just of COVID but of trends in general. And what I do think is interesting is the article basically said that there are minor outbreaks, minor epidemics like this once about every 10 years. And then about every 100 years, 100 to 120 years, there is something that grows much bigger than that and much more intense than that. And that is a pattern that has happened since we had global travel. So what's interesting is it's like, because like when you look at it, it was first we had Black Plague. The two main ones that people know of are Black Plague and Spanish flu. Ever since basically people started traveling from continent to continent, this has started happening where every 100 years or so, a little bit more or a little bit less than 100 years, there is a massive pandemic that kills off a large population. Usually between 10 to 20% of the population dies.
Yeah, but we didn't get anywhere near close that with COVID now, because obviously now we have technology, right? Now we have science to really combat it.
That's the thing though. the article also stated that every 10 to 15 years, there is a minor pandemic that will kill off 3 to 4% of the population, which is not quite as much as what COVID did. So I think modern technology definitely helped. But it's interesting like, that happens.
Sorry. There is now what is it called? There's now 8 billion people in this planet. You know, it is estimated that we're soon to, if not, we've already hit 8 billion people. 4% of 8 billion, dude. That's millions of people. I don't think COVID even reached that. But that's kind of like what you got to keep in mind. I don't think
so either.
That's what you got to keep in mind too.
Yeah.
It's like
I think the end mortality rate of COVID was just around 1%. So,
yeah, that sounds about right.
Which is about the mortality rate of the normal flu.
Mm-hmm.
The normal flu has a mortality rate of about 0.7%. So it's just a little bit worse than the flu. So
how about we do this, Tully? How about we move on? Yes. Because
I agree.
I think 20 minutes of talking about sickness and death is enough for the podcast for episode enough. 21.
I agree.
All right.
Which, 21 is exciting. This means that when I edit and upload 19, 20, and 21, we will have reached the point where 90% of podcasts die. So 90% of podcasts that are ever started die before episode 20. They never get to make episode 20. And so we are over the hump. So we're just going to keep doing it, now. And of course, Hallik is going to make me do it because we promised last podcast I'll play Impact if we make 50 episodes of the podcast. So
Vel, listen to this, man. I've tried to get Tully to play Genshin also, but we finally made an agreement. And like he mentions, if we make the podcast episode 50, this man's gonna play Genshin with me.
I will.
And the reason I'm bringing out Belk in chat is because I've been talking to this man longer about playing Genshin than to you, Tully, and he refuses. There's nothing I can do to tell this guy. And what's funny is...
How many episodes of the podcast do we have to make for you to play Genshin Impact?
Well, keep it PMA, keep it BSJ. All right? This is not my Twitch. You cannot call people the F word.
No.
So Belk is the guy who actually I played Dota with. He's a toxic player, and he's also the guy that I mentioned to you about joining the podcast at some point. Because he's a reformed League of Legends player. So I figured that he would be a great addition because he has now hit the top 1 percentile of ranked MMR in Dota. So he has like a very nuanced experience, like he has something to back up his words with, right? I have never played League, but I talk shit about League all the time. You have played League, but you haven't played Dota much. But we both talk shit. It would be nice to have somebody who has like 1,000 hours in one game, like 2,000 in the other game, and could just, finally come in and just say that Dota is better than League.
But it's not.
It is.
It's not.
It is.
I actually I actually wanted to talk about this on the podcast since we're talking about Dota and League. I'll jump in here. Right. The latest. So they're doing the preseason here shortly for League of Legends. And the preseason in League of Legends is when everything goes wild. They make like the major big changes for the year during the preseason usually. So like that's where like they're changing whole maps and changing whole mechanic systems and stuff like that usually during the preseason. So this preseason is apparently going to be focusing on reworking the jungle. And one thing that they're doing is they're reworking monsters leashing.
Leashing? So, what is monster leashing?
So leashing is when you drag them too far away from their like home spot and they regen all of their health and they go back to their home spot in League of Legends. And we had talked about how in Dota 2, monsters don't leash like that.
No,
you can pull.
They do lose aggro, but they don't reset their health.
Yeah, but you can like pull them into lanes to fight minions.
That too.
And I was like, I hope League does that. I hope that they do that. That would be so fucking funny if they added that into League of Legends.
And what's really cool about that is that it forces interaction. So, for example, I know that League, the bot lane, that's the duo lane. That's the duo versus duo lane, right?
Yep.
But in Dota, we have 2 duo lanes. Anyways, what I like about pulling creeps is that it's a dynamic where it makes the support's job more fun because it all forces more interactions early game, right?
Yeah.
Because, hey, your creeps, your gold, your XP, your power spike is right there being denied by the support. Go deal with it, It's like the support's no longer just the heal beach, the heal beach, or just the stun bitch. No, now the support is like, ha, I have your creeps, come deal with me right now, or lose the lane, That's what I kind of like about that whole pulling aggro on the creeps.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it's interesting because, like you said, it helps the support because the support's main job in League 2, and I believe in Dota as well, the support's main job is to set the pacing of the lane. So your job is to try to find good engages and defend against engages from the enemy to set the pace of your lane so that you are ahead, making sure that your AD carry, your whatever you're supporting has the space to be able to farm and get XP and gold and build their items so that they can hit their power spikes. So what's interesting is in League, you basically just do that by harassing and setting up good engages and knowing your matchups and understanding when the enemy is going to have their power spikes and when you're going to have your power spikes, and then making sure that you can take advantage of those moments. And so it's interesting because, like, for example, I was playing League just before the podcast, actually. I was playing League and then I helped somebody fix their Minecraft. But I played Soraka and I finally got Mastery 7 on Soraka. Yay, I've been grinding that for 20 games or something like that. And then I played Blitzcrank. And I remembered why I stopped playing Blitzcrank, which is Blitzcrank is such a dominant force in the bot lane as a support that there's if you just play aggressive and your AD carry does anything at all to follow up on what you do as Blitzcrank, you immediately set the pace of the lane for you to win. And I had my AD carry 11-0 at 15 minutes. And so, it's one of those things where that was why I stopped playing Blitzcrank, because it had become such a problem in the game that it bothered me that I could just show up in lane and immediately pull off a double kill no matter what the state of the fucking lane.
Tule is like, damn it, I'm winning too much. It's not fun.
Too much. It's not fun anymore because there's no competition. Because it's I just walk into lane and I'm facing a strong duo and it doesn't even fucking matter because I just land one skill shot and the AD carry or support is fucked. And that's the power of Blitzcrank, and that's why he's one of the best supports in the game.
Tully, you're just too nice, man. You're just too nice.
I'm gonna grind Mastery 7 Blitzcrank because I'm just trying to get Mastery 7 on all the supports that I'm good at. But holy shit, it was one of those things where I played Soraka for a long time, and Soraka's really hard to set the pace of the lane with because Soraka's a heal support that's focused almost entirely on healing.
Passive, yeah.
Yep, low damage. Not really a passive kit, just low damage and heals is what you do, and so much harder and no hard CC. And so it's one of those things that's playing Soraka for 20 games in a row and then transitioning to Blitzcrank was just painful for me. It was painful again because I was sitting in lane as Soraka and it was so hard and I had to think and I had to work hard and I had to focus and do my spells right. And I had to set I had to remember what my enemy was doing and stuff like that. And then I walk into lane as Blitzcrank, I land one skill shot and their entire laning phase is fucked at level 1 simply because I landed a good skill shot. And it's it's one of the things about League of Legends that's really problematic. So I would like it if they added elements into the game that made it so that Blitzcrank would have to think about more
because when it's a matchup thing. It looks like it's a matchup kind of thing, right? Because it's so I don't want to call it rock paper scissors, but let's call it just for now for just short sakes. So in Dota, for example, because we have lane pulling and because we have creep stacking, right, and creep aggro and all these other extra mechanics, if you have a bad matchup in your lane, you can make it work. You can still make it work. You just gotta change your playstyle. For example, let's say I'm playing 4 in Dota, and we're in the off lane, and my core, my off laner, my core player, he cannot do anything. Like if he gets anywhere near close to creeps, he immediately dies, right? So what you're supposed to do as a support player at that point actually is go in the jungle, sneak behind the tier 1 tower, aggro the creeps behind the tier 1 tower, and drag them all the way to behind of your tower. So that way your core can have some farm, right? If you do that, obviously you have to make sure that they don't have vision of you, make sure that if they go on you, you can actually live, etc., etc. So there's more angles of approach. It's not just go to the creep wave, and if you can't deal with it, you lose. No, right? It feels like without all these mechanics that Dota has, that feels like that's it, right? It's like rock, paper, scissors. Oh, you match up counters you, you're fucked, kind of thing, right?
So in League, creep stacking, wave control, and all that stuff is absolutely essential. If you cannot do that, I've been playing with some new kids, and it's weird. Some people who are very new to the game, they've never played MOBAs before, and they just started playing League. They're literally level 60 in League, so it's less than 200 games. It's really hard because they don't know how to do wave control, and for them, and the problem is I'm trying to help them, right? And to some degree teach them as well. And I'm bad at teaching wave control because I've been playing the game for so long that I can no longer articulate how to.
Yeah, it's like if for you it's something that's in your system, right? It's just muscle memory for you at that point.
Yeah. And so I was 1v1ing somebody who's a little bit newer than I am, but a little bit older than them, and he's learning wave control. And we 1v1'd, and he was like, wow, your wave control is so fucking good. And that's why you're winning all of these fights. And I don't understand. And he was asking me questions how are you doing that? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't articulate it. I just do it. It's just because I play support, and because I played mid for a long time as well, that I just know how to do the wave control with these certain champions in a certain way that gets me in the lead early. And it's very interesting because it's I'm playing with people who don't know how to do wave control. It's very challenging, especially when the enemy ends up knowing how to do it, and then my team doesn't, and we're losing towers and losing ground because our wave control is off and our lane control is off. And it's just very interesting. It gets very complicated with minions in League because you have a very limited number of ways of interacting with them. But yeah, no, I would like to see more of those mechanics implemented in League, where it's okay, wave control and aggro and understanding how to move the minions. And it's the one thing that's off about League is there are a couple champions that can proxy that literally will just sit behind in between the two turrets and just take the minions, so that their own wave is constantly clashing with the tower, and it pulls a lot of XP, or not a lot of XP usually, but it pulls a lot of gold away because farming under towers is really hard in League of Legends. And so it's really interesting because that's one thing that
Dota used to be like that too. The tower used to obliterate the creeps, but in recent patches they toned down the towers so that there's a predetermined amount of hits. So what they did first was close the gap of the damage range of what the tower can do, right? Because a lot of heroes and creeps and towers, they have it does let's say for example 10 to 30 damage, right? So it feels like it's more random if you cannot really predict. But they in Dota they took the tower damage and they made it a solid number that it would always deal this much amount, and it will they also made it so that you can always count the amount of hits that you just know. A range creep takes 4 hits, and on the third hit, the range creep is 5% health, and just about every hero in the game can one-shot it at that point. Kind of stuff like that. So they definitely wanted to make it easier to CS under tower. It just didn't used to be like that, man. It used to be so fucking tough to CS under tower. But now it's so easy. Again, in bad matchups, what people do, because I'm a support player, right? So that's in my mind a lot. Like a lot of core players, what's in their minds, not so much the matchup. And of course, that's important, but they think about, okay, CS. That's kind of like all they think about.
Right.
But for example, if I know I'm going into a bad matchup, in a bad lane matchup, and a little trick that I can do is I creep aggro, right? So for those that don't know, when you right-click the enemy hero, any enemy creeps around you will aggro to you and walk at you. You can actually use that as an advantage. Yep. So I creep aggro and make it so that they aggro under the tower. And what that does is that now there's three entities hitting three high DPS entities hitting the tower, right? The two heroes, the creeps, sorry, the two heroes and the tower. So that means that our wave is not going to die first. The enemy's wave of creeps is going to die first, meaning that we are going to hit level 2 first. Yep. Simply because the amount of XP is we have more XP faster. So we hit level 2 first, and then we can use that quote-unquote level 2 power spike to kind of edge on the bad matchup, right? So we hit level 2, we now have 2 spells, opponent has only 1 spell per hero, and we can do that to harass, or we can use it to secure creeps, secure the next CS, etc., and it just becomes dynamic from there. It's like, I know that you say that in League it gets complicated. The creep management gets complicated. You can do that in
League. I think it's harder to do that in League, but you can absolutely do that. I've done that in League, where they'll push up really hard wave 1, and you can aggro their creeps onto you and pull them under tower. I've done that before.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know you could do that in League.
Because in League, if you any single target spell will aggro all the nearby minions onto you.
Wait, it's spells? It's not attacks?
It also includes auto attacks. I think it's any single target attacks technically. But any single target attacks will aggro all the minions onto you in League, I believe. They made like a change at one point because it used to be like any AoE attacks would aggro minions onto you, and now it's any single target attacks will aggro minions onto you.
They don't aggro that far in League?
They don't aggro. They have to be pushed really far up for that to happen. They do not aggro as far as Dota. That is for sure. They will get you much faster.
This is why I need Belkin. We need to have like an episode where all we talk about is the League versus Dota. Yeah, but we need to have Belkin.
I've definitely been able to pull minions under tower to get our XP first. But in League, it's a trade-off. It's a really hard trade-off too, because if you do that, you're most likely sacrificing gold for XP. And
right, because it's so hard to see us, right?
Yeah, and in bot lane, generally speaking, gold is significantly more important than XP. Most of your AD carries power comes from their build rather than from their experience. And so in League, I feel like it's more of a trade-off, and it's more, I guess, specific. But I've done it once or twice intentionally to get ourselves a level ahead, particularly in certain matchups. So like I'll say this, I did this once actually a couple weeks ago because I was a Thresh and Kai'Sa duo, and Thresh and Kai'Sa in particular are 2 champs that have a really strong level 2 power spike. And so if we both hit level 2 before the enemy, we basically just win that fight, guaranteed. We're guaranteed to get a kill. And so I did that because they had pushed really hard, and then we hit level 2 first, and we were able to pull off a kill because of the way the game, because that was one of our power spikes. And so it's definitely possible, but I think it's significantly harder in League to do than it is in Dota, just because minions will only aggro you for like a very short period of time in League of Legends, like 2 or 3 attacks from them. So they have to be pushed far up already. So that was another thing where I was talking with my AD carry and being like, because we were duo queuing, and I told my AD carry, like, you need to let them push really hard because this is the plan that I have. So it had to be something that I could set up beforehand. And they did push really hard because they were a hard push duo, basically. That was like one of the things that they did really well. And so that was one time where like you can do things like that in League of Legends. But once again, I do think it's, I guess, more circumstantial in League of Legends than it is in Dota 2. Whereas you can do that consistently in Dota 2. In League of Legends, I don't think you could do that consistently. I think it really depends on the matchup, and really depends on a lot of stuff like that. So I think it's interesting. I hope that they do kind of make some of those transitions to make those roles a little bit more moldable and have a little bit more I guess, nuance to them. But yeah, I think it would be funny if you could pull jungle that far in League of Legends. That would be awesome. I think it would be broken now.
I believe that. Well, that's the thing. It's like now you played Dota a little bit, so now you understand what Dota is about. It's like Dota isn't about one hero being overpowered, because obviously, you know, there is heroes. In Dota, heroes are designed in such a way that they think. I think what they thought about, and I'm pretty sure this is what the design philosophy was. It's like, what's the most broken but fun thing you could make a hero be, and they just did it. It's like, you know, when Ice Frog was like, I want a hero that has 24 skills. Bam, Invoker. He didn't think, oh, is this balanced? No, he fucking did it first and then balanced it later. Right? Oh my god. Same. It's like, yes, the hero. How cool would it be if a hero could stop time? Bam, Faceless Void, right?
Riot absolutely does that, though, of the... let's make the champion and then figure out how to balance them later. And honestly, I think it creates some problems in League with the balancing, because they just never finishing the balancing.
You gotta keep staff fed, you know. It's like all right, guys, we hire all this balance stuff. Well, I'm gonna make a stupid decision so these guys can earn their bread, kind of thing. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think the MOBAs are better off when the developer decides to add a hero that feels fucking stupid. You know, at first. It's like, yes, it's going to create frustrations, yes, this and that, but the games are better off that way.
Yeah.
You know, if every hero felt the same way, it wouldn't be that fun.
Yeah. And that's exactly balanced. Yeah, I don't think it would be as fun. But yeah.
League's feeling of stupid is frustrating. It's mostly a stat check. Yeah. Now, I don't know how itemization works.
I definitely think it can run that way sometimes, where it's just stats. Although, like, I don't know. So, like, there are also champions that have stupid powerful abilities. So, like, one example of a champion that has a really stupid powerful ability that isn't stupid powerful from what you would think, but is crazy powerful. So Twitch, his Q allows him to go invisible.
Okay.
And then when he comes out of invisibility, he gets movement speed. He gets movement speed when he's invisible. He maintains the movement speed after he comes out of invisibility, and he gets a massive boost in attack speed. And essentially, the like gold equivalent to it is he gets an additional quote unquote basically 1,500 gold, which is a decent amount in League of Legends, for his Q, simply for pressing the button. Yeah, it's really strong ability.
Belk, should we tell him about Bristleback Aghanim Scepter?
And
anyways, go on.
What's interesting? Well, okay, so what's interesting is with this ability alone, Twitch can win trades that he shouldn't be able to just win when he's behind, significantly behind too. And what's really annoying about it is, like, I played a game versus Twitch I think yesterday actually, and I was supporting, and the Twitch went like 0-5 in lane and still got a triple kill late game simply because he got a couple items.
Dude, that sounds like me. That sounds like me playing every hero.
And it's interesting because, like, in League, that's not very common. If you get behind in League, it's usually pretty hard to pick back up the ball.
Yeah. And the combat mechanics in League are just not there. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's interesting. And now League is getting more wild with their characters more often, and I think that's interesting. They've added a couple of characters recently that are really very strong, and they have made a lot of changes to their game recently that I think are making it more fun. Personally, I think I've been enjoying it more, but at the same time, I'm playing with like new people, and then also I've definitely watched some people get very frustrated at the game still, because it's still, League of Legends is still an incredibly frustrating game. I don't think it'll ever be
MOBAs are in general. It's just really difficult because MOBAs, just the way that they work, like it's you need to like understand all these concepts, all these little things, all these little nuances to the game. It's not pick up and play like Call of Duty. It's like, okay, let's say you get a new friend and he or she is not into gaming, but he or she wants to try it out with you, right? So what happens is, in Call of Duty, it's easy. Here's the controller. There's the bad guy. Use the gun, shoot the bad guy, right?
Yep.
And you can start that way, but with MOBAs, it's like, okay, sit down. We're gonna have a little PowerPoint presentation, and maybe 10 hours from now, you may be okay to like start playing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not pick up and play. That's the problem with MOBAs.
Yeah.
You have to get into it early on.
Yeah, and it's something like you gotta play like if you want to play PvP in League of Legends, you just have to play like 50 bot games first.
I saw that. It was so annoying.
First, your first game on versus people in League of Legends, you're going to get absolutely fucking destroyed. And so, yeah, it's interesting. I think it has a lot of problems. I think I'll still probably continue playing it because my friends want to play it. And also, I personally have fun. I really like League of Legends still. I've discovered
Yeah. No, I can sit here and trash League all day long, but at the end of the day, man, it's a game. Just have fun,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell you, no, you're wrong for playing League. It's like, well, if it's fun for you, if your friends play it and that's what makes you happy, just fucking do it. Sure, I still prefer Dota, but I think as long as you're having fun, you're not hurting anybody. Whatever. Except Belk. Belk, you're toxic. You're a toxic mid player. No.
There have been times. There were a couple Soraka games where I was really pissed at my AD carry and I just took every kill in lane. Listen, because I'm really good.
As long as you're not like Belk, this guy in chat. As long as you're not like him, you're fine. Because oh my god, this guy hurts. Not only does he hurt his opponents, but he hurts his teammates too, man. It's like we were playing, right? And we were playing duo queue, right? And he goes mid, and I'm playing support. And like one of the other cores criticizes him ever so slightly, and this man just goes ham. He loses his shit. He's like, how dare you, fucking this and that. Just goes absolutely trying to destroy these other guys' emotions in the chat. It's so funny to me. But what's funny is, moving on to a different subject here, is that that was really bad when we first started playing. When we first started playing, he was around 4K MMR, I think, which is like the top 20 to 15 percentile. But then I started playing with him and I was like, yo, you're like really toxic. He like super, super toxic. It's like he's having a good lane, he's talking trash. He's having a bad lane, he's talking trash. He's having we're having a 50-50 game. He's absolutely talking trash all the time. Right. And like he would just pop off on the microphone, not even chat, because Dota has like voice over IP. He would just yell at people constantly. And I'm like, this is not good. Hear me out. It's like, it doesn't even matter like if you're right or wrong. It's just not good for your health because you're increasing your blood pressure all the fucking time trying to play a goddamn video game. 2, Dota and mobile games in general are a mental game, right? It's not like chess. It's not a perfect game where everything has its own rules and you can only do so much. MOBAs are a mental game because they're so chaotic and because there's so many different things that you can do. So when you when you become toxic in a mobile game, when you get upset, that makes your chance of winning go down even further, right? Yep. And the reason I'm calling this is because he has now reached Immortal rank in Dota, and I believe 100% is because an aspect that really helped him reach that high MMR is that he acknowledged, he told me, you're right, I was being so toxic. I was letting other people get to me. He admitted it, which is props to him because it's really, really difficult to admit that you're wrong. Yeah. Like to let go of your ego and say, I was in the wrong, I was I let my emotions get to me. He admitted that, and that's when I knew, okay, we're gonna get some MMR now, because there's some games that this man throws just because he gets upset. He hasn't done it in like 2 months. So I'm 100% certain that if everybody just calmed the fuck down and played their game, even when they're having a bad game, they would win more often than not.
Yeah.
It's like,
I do agree with that assessment, that
now,
generally speaking, getting upset in League and in Dota too will negatively affect your win rate. There's also
hear me out.
There's also
sorry,
yeah, go for
sorry.
it.
I just want to like do one more little thing, because when you I don't know if you, to any of our listeners, they do like high MMR / competitive gaming, whether it be CS:GO, Dota, League, whatever. You can once you get like up past the average MMR, your win rate just goes down, just because you're like playing against people who are really good too. So when you start to gain MMR, you do so with like very small margins, right? You no longer win 70% of the games. Now you only win 60% of the games. You get higher and higher. Now you only win 55%. But and there's people who reach the very top of the ladders with like 51% win rate. But that's the thing. It's like the higher you get, the less you can afford to let toxicity and get to you. Because think about it. If you let toxic players or your own toxic behavior get to you, you lose that 1% margin, that 1, 2, 3% margin. You lose it, and guess what? Instead of having a 51% win rate where you can gradually over time gain MMR, now you're losing MMR because you let those bad thoughts get to you, whether they're yours or somebody else's. So if you are above average MMR player who really wants to try to reach that next rank, focus on not getting angry. Especially if you find yourself typing in null chat all the time, focus on your own game. Focus on not letting those negative emotions get to you, and I promise you're gonna start racing, because again, it's that little bit of like 2% of the games that you lose because you tilt. If you didn't, your win rate would be positive. You would be above 50% win rate.
Yeah,
I guarantee you. But anyway, sorry, Tuli. What is it you wanted to say?
There is also a huge statistic, which is when in almost any MOBA, and this is coming out of a study that Riot did on League of Legends and win rates, which is if you lose a game badly in League of Legends and immediately queue without taking a break for another game, your win rate drops by almost 11% simply because you didn't take a break. So if you had a 50% win rate and you lost a game horribly, and then you immediately jump into next game, your win rate went from 50% to 30, or from 50% to 39% or 49, 39%. Because you queued to the next game. If you take a 15-minute break, get up, walk around, get yourself a drink, get a snack, do some
gotta reset that mentality.
Whatever. Yeah. And then jump into a game, your win rate goes back up to normal. So if you have a 60% win rate, you drop down to 49% in whatever elo you're in if you lose a game badly, statistically speaking, and jump into your next game. Because you're more likely to play poorly if you get mad. And
I don't have that problem in Dota, because we're so high in MMR now that our queues are always like 15 minutes long. No.
Yeah. I
100% agree with what you said. It is so true. Especially now that, because MOBAs, man, they're no longer like the brand new kind of game, right? Gaming and professional gaming has now been around for over 2 decades. So these things are no longer like little pro secrets, It's like now there's like a science to it, right? And this is exactly what that is you have to allow yourself, again, if you're trying to like reach that next rank, you have to allow yourself to let go of losing that game. You have to let go of that putting yourself down or letting others put yourself, whatever it is, whether it's like rage, sadness, regret, all these negative emotions. Next game, new day. You gotta treat it as like a brand new day.
Yeah.
And again, it's just don't be toxic. Don't tilt. Yeah. It's so easy. Just chill, man. I don't want to say it's just a game, but it's just a game, and this is good for both you, the other players around you, and your win rate. Don't tilt. Yeah. You're having a bad time, step away from the computer, come back later. Make sure you're having fun first. Make sure you're not being toxic to other people, and make sure you focus on your own game, right?
Yeah.
Your MMR will go up. Absolutely. Because that was the funny thing with Belk. It's like I would be playing with him and we would just go on these massive lose streaks and he would just mold 24/7. And well, I didn't have anybody else to play with, so I stuck around to keep playing with him, but I would always comment, it's like, you need to relax, dude. And at first he was like, nah, man, you're just being stupid, blah, 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 blah. But no, later he realized that, if I don't rage buyback 10 minutes in, my win rate goes up. Fucking interesting. He was telling me, I don't understand how you don't get upset, because, hey, I'm a human too. I'm not playing perfect. Absolutely not. I would do the stupidest fucking shits ever. He hates... I have good things that I do and also bad things that I do when I play support. And one of those bad things that I do is that I die too easily and I misposition myself too easily. Because I just like to go in. So, he wouldn't be the only person in my team telling me that, right? My carry would also be like, why are you doing this? Stop being stupid, right? Yeah. And he would hear the other players talk shit to me. And he would tell me, why? How are you not tilting? How are you not getting upset? I feel like, man, I'm used to it, man. I've been playing Dota for since 2002, right? I've been playing Dota for 20 years now. I am very used to the 17-year-old on the other side of the fucking Atlantic Ocean telling me that I'm retarded. It doesn't faze me anymore. And that is by far was my best asset as a support player, as a mobile player, is that I didn't tilt. I just focused on my own game.
Molding.
Yeah, not molding. Absolutely best strategy to win MMR. But and then later, I started realizing, okay, I'm mispositioning here, or I'm not doing this right. And when you don't tilt, you focus more on your own game, just naturally, just because your brain is not busy molding internally, right? So a lot more of that brain space is now spent on improving your gameplay. So it's just a win-win, man. You don't tilt, your MMR goes up, you get better. You don't tilt your opponent, you don't tilt your teammates, right? But do tilt your opponent. If you get the chance, do tilt the opponents. Because that's funny.
I have one friend who I jokingly flame all the time.
Oh, me too. I tell Buck to he's the worst fucking mid player ever.
Where it's become a meme for everyone in the group to ask him if he's winning trades and tell him that he's losing trades and stuff like that. Because one night I just kept on. I was spectating him, and I was like, "Toby, you lost that trade. That's a trade. You just lost that trade. You shouldn't have lost that trade." And it just kept on doing that over and over again. And he kept on laughing and being like, "Shut the fuck up, bitch!" and he kept on just joking around with me, and we kept on having a good time.
But that's good. That's good, because now he's not tilted. You're helping your friend not tilt by making a joke of it. Exactly. And some people might think, "Oh, but you're just making fun of your friend." Blah, blah, blah. No. It's it's all fun and good, because one, he's your friend, and two, he's already having a bad time. You just making it lighter of a situation, which is a good thing. The other day, I was watching this Dota pro player talk about this kind of stuff. No, sorry, not a Dota pro player. It was nothing. It was a CS:GO. My personal CS:GO idol. Is a CS:GO pro player. He was talking about how different it is, competitive versus pubs, in the sense that yeah, when he's saying that when players are young, they're hype. They think that they're gonna turn every corner and win every peak. They're gonna pick every enemy and win every trade and stuff like that, right? But when you're in a professional environment, that's not how you gotta think. You gotta think about your teammates. You gotta think about what's in their mind, what's in your mind. It's more of like 100%. A mental kind of thing. So it's funny that you mentioned that, because they was also mentioning it's like you gotta think. You no longer think as you just being better than everybody else. You're now thinking as, how can my team overcome the enemy team, right? Yeah. It's no longer you're gonna peek every corner and win every trade. It's more like, if I do this, how does this affect my teammates, and is this a good move, right? And he was saying that that's such a important skill to have, especially if you want to move to the pro scene. It's no longer you think about you think that you're better than everybody else. No, it's not that like that anymore. It's like, is this a good move for your team, right?
Yeah, it's definitely focusing more on team gameplay and how is this going to impact the overall scale of the game? How is this going to impact other lanes, stuff like that? And that's like, I had a conversation with somebody about low elo versus like mid-high elo supporting. And it's interesting because in low elo in League of Legends as a support, you do not roam almost ever, unless your AD carry is either really ahead or your AD carry is just going to sit under turret and farm. You don't roam, because if you leave your AD carry alone in League low elo, they're just going to die. That's what's going to happen. So unless you can trust your AD carry to stay safe, you don't roam. Whereas in like mid-high elo, you want to roam as a support. You want to go mid. You want to go top. You want to go push other lanes, help them get ahead too.
You want to have impact.
Yeah, impact the game in more than just one lane, even during laning phase as a support. And especially if your lane, and this is what I found interesting, is if your lane is going well, you do so less. If your lane is going poorly, you do so more early game.
Yeah.
Because it's like, all right, this lane is already behind. We're already losing. I'm not going to do much good here. Let's let my AD carry get solo XP, let my AD carry get solo gold, and hopefully not die too much. And then I'll go help other lanes and see if I can get other lanes ahead or push lanes that are already ahead even further ahead. And so it's interesting because it's like doing that is very interesting to me, because as you learn to play the game, you learn that, all right, my lane isn't the only lane. And this is something that I have discovered in low elo that is fascinating to me. Is it's very much like in gaming, it's like the child developmental cycle too, right? Of like early league gamers, early league players that are new to the game, oftentimes think about the game like children think about life. As in, like, everything's wrapped up in their lane. And if their lane doesn't win, then the game is gone. And if their lane doesn't win, they'll want to FF. If their lane is winning and everybody else's is losing, they won't want to FF. And it's very interesting to me because I sit there and I look at it. It's like, it's interesting because as you get higher in elo, you hit that point at some point inevitably where you're like, my lane is one of 4 lanes. And it might be the least important in this game at this point in time. And that's okay. And we should help other lanes and stuff like that. It's very fascinating to me that I've watched players go through that, watched players observe that. And I don't know, it's just a very interesting like development moment in watching somebody's gameplay as they go, sometimes it's okay for me to make a sacrifice in my lane that will lose my lane if it wins somebody else's lane. Because their lane is more important and them getting strong is more important than me getting strong and something like that. And in learning who your carries are, learning what's actually going to make your win conditions for the game. And that's something that's fascinating because I don't know. I think Belk asked earlier what my elo is. I do not play ranked in League of Legends. The last time I played ranked in League of Legends, I only got silver, but that was quite literally like 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. However, in my solo queue games, when I was solo queuing a lot, which I don't really play solo queue anymore, even in norms, I'm always playing with other players. And generally speaking, I'm playing with players who are I'm boosting. I'm smurfing with these people.
Oh, man.
I'm playing against people that are significantly below my skill level. Significantly below my skill level. I would say that probably I don't want to say I'm plat because I feel like that's like too like I'm good. But I might be low plat, high diamond. Maybe. I don't know. I would have to play ranked again, and I'd have to do that. I don't really want to do that. I don't have the time or energy to play ranked. Quite honestly, unless I had unless I was doing like flex 5v5s, I could do that because that just sounds like more fun. But in that case, it's less about my skill and more about the whole team skill. So it doesn't even matter. I couldn't tell you what my elo is in particular. But I don't know. I might be low plat, high diamond, low diamond. I don't know, somewhere in there. I'm above gold. I know that. I play with gold players and I am better than gold players, honestly. So, yeah, I would say that generally in support role. In other roles, definitely lower, significantly lower. Like in top, I'm probably not even iron. I'm terrible at top lane in League of Legends. I cannot do it. I have like 2 champions I can play top and I will win maybe 30% of the time in that lane. I just do not play top. I don't know what it is about it. It's a mental block for me, and eventually I'll get over it. I'm sure I'll play a dozen games of top in a row, and then I'll be like, fine, whatever. But yeah, no, I don't really know what my elo is. I definitely used to play unranked with a couple of platinum players, and I would be playing versus platinum players who were on their mains, and I would still be going 50-50. So I would say I'm probably still around that skill level, but I also did I want to say I got back into League 2 months ago after taking like a 9-month break. So like I didn't play League for a long time, or I played League very irregularly for a long time because I didn't have people to play with, and I don't really play games unless people are playing.
Yeah. I've had times like that. So. I've had times like that too. I mean, I only started playing Dota again recently. It started like this in spring this year because Belk actually started playing with me. But before that, it's like I was tired of solo queue because I didn't want to play alone. It was so boring.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would just hop in, do whatever, and that'll be fine. But like, I didn't consistently play Dota again until I had like an actual duo partner to go with. And I can totally see what you mean, but I do think you should try ranked.
I don't
try it again, but you don't wanna. But like, I think all you're missing is that one other friend who's around your same MMR to like enjoy it with.
Yeah.
Again, but that's kind of cheating because
an 80 carry, and 80 carries are toxic.
So fucking fact! Such facts, man. Alright, man, hold up. Man, fuck core players. Guys need to relax. Shit, what was I going to say? I completely lost my train of thought now. Oh, man, remind me, what was I saying, Tully?
I should play ranked again.
Yeah, you should play ranked. You should. Because it's fun, with the appeal of MOBAs, I feel like the appeal of MOBAs that other games don't have is the drive to improve yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because with shooters, improving yourself, all it means is just, better picking, better positioning, better shooting. And with MOBAs have a lot more than that. There's a lot more skills to playing a MOBA than playing a competitive shooter, for example. And I think that's the appeal of it too, especially for like the really hardcore gamers, because that's what people really enjoy. I find, especially like, when I find like-minded players in whether it be an MMO or Dota or whatever other competitive, it's like the drive to improve yourself is what makes these people not only enjoy the game more, but spend more time with the game because of it. They don't want to just have fun. They want to have fun and get better at it. and see the fruits of their efforts come true in like either be a new rank that they reach, or a new KD, the average that they reach, or in the case of first-person shooters, like a new accuracy rating. You should try it. Try to play League for what it's good too, which is, again, like I've mentioned, that drive to improve your own gameplay.
Right.
Try to reach that next rank. See if you can push your limits. That's the word I was looking for. Is pushing your limits.
Yeah, pushing your limits. Yeah, I don't know. I might at some point. I actually might stream it at some point. Quite honestly, I think that would be more fun for me. Part of my problem is
title it. I like Silver Smurf plays League of Legends.
Yes, Silver Smurf plays League of Legends. Last time I was ranked, I got silver. Yay! And when I got silver, I got into a huge fight with my ex because she was bronze and she got mad at me, and that's why I don't play ranked.
What the fuck? No. That sounds like a problem with your ex. But what it
is a problem with my ex, but it turned into a problem with me. Anyways, so yeah, so I don't know, maybe I'll play ranked again sometime, and I'll stream it and see if I can just have some fun as well. But like, that's the problem, is I get like, I don't know, because of that experience, it's very weird and stressful and emotional to play ranked now in any game. So I just stopped playing ranked.
Listen,
that's part of the problem.
Dota, we have a quote. Yeah. And it's a very short quote, but carries with it the world when it comes to Dota competitive queuing in ranked, and that is MMR is just a number.
Yeah,
those few words. It is just a number. It is ELO is just a number. All right.
Yeah,
it's just a number.
Yeah,
it's an imaginary number in some database somewhere in fuck off wherever, middle of nowhere. It doesn't matter. What matters is that, like I said, you're having fun, but also that you're trying to improve. You're trying to make yourself better. I'm
getting better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think I think I could get to that point mentally now. I think a couple of years ago when I stopped playing ranked, I could not. I was so stressful because I felt like everybody else on the team was relying on me. And I think also part of that is the fact that I play support. And support is one of those roles where it's like, if you do poorly, your whole team is fucked. Because if you do poorly as support and you lose your lane as support, the other AD carry gets fed. And then the whole game is fucked. Because the other AD carry is fed.
You should just swap to Dota because it's so funny. When you play support as Dota in ranked, nobody cares if you feed.
Right.
No one gives a fuck. If you do something stupid, just call it space created, and everybody for some reason accepts it. And I used to believe that.
In League sometime.
No, you'll get flamed because League doesn't have comeback mechanics.
I created space. I created space. It's okay. Don't worry about
it. Space created.
Yeah. I definitely in League feel like support recently has gotten a little bit better. It used to be very, very heavy. The two roles that I used to main in League are jungle and support, and they were the two roles where if you did poorly, you would get the most flamed.
No, it's the opposite in Dota. If you it's a support, you're doing poorly, it doesn't fucking matter. Like at all. You could be 0 and 16, but if you have more assists than death, everyone's like, yeah, sure, he's doing his job. He's getting Ghana and creating space, putting vision down, baiting spells. It's called baiting and creating spells. Oh, it's my favorite 2 words when playing Dota. You have no idea, because I like to go ham.
It's a thing in League too.
I like to go ham. I like to be that guy that goes in first. I like to be that guy who starts shit, But I was watching a long time ago. I watched this again. I was very interested in trying to get better at Dota. So especially when I started playing with Belk, I started to I need to get a little better so I can catch up with him. So I stumbled upon this video where it says. It's like a clickbaity title, but it actually was very interesting. It was something along the lines of what your personality says about your role, the role that you should play, or something like that, right? Because in Dota, there is more than just 5 roles. There's more than just support, carry, and mid. There is initiation, save, wave shove. There's all these different roles, but what happens is that one hero can fulfill multiple roles, right? So it is said, this guy, was talking about the fact that if you have a certain personality, that will affect the way you play Dota. So what you should do is gravitate towards the role that fits that personality. And then we're not talking about just, you like to be the healer, so you play support. No, because there's more roles that you need to do, and there's more things that you need to think about. For example, if you are someone who is objective oriented in Dota, like you care more about where the waves are than what kills you, what your kill death ratio is. You might be more suited towards playing heroes that focus on objectives, that shove waves, that take towers, that maybe prioritize making sure that the map vision is good versus making sure that they're getting as much gold as possible. And
League like definitely has that too. League 100% has. If you don't care about getting kills and don't really care about dying, there are entire strats. So I'll bring up two things that are specifically.
What's that pro player that's famous in League for like feeding nonstop, but always winning anyways?
Well, I think is he the guy who plays the champion called Scion, and he
Scion, yes. I watched that. Yeah.
Yeah, so inting Scion is a whole strat because it's not about getting kills or losing kills or gold. It's just you die and then you push down turrets like fucking crazy. And that's his whole kit. And he's figured out a way to do it. And so there are definitely roles like that. And there are many of them in League of Legends where it's like, okay, so this is a hard shove champion. It's just, it feels interesting to me that there are those, but they tend to be less played. So Yorick, for example, is another pusher where he can get kills, obviously, because anybody can, and he's actually quite strong at it too. But the difference is he's significantly better at pushing down turrets than he is at getting kills technically. And so that's what you do most of the game is you just push down turrets and you push through waves, and his kit actually is focused on pushing waves and makes you last hit to build up some of his abilities, and he has an ability that you have to last hit with to do certain things, and he builds a huge wave for himself. And so it's very interesting because there are definitely roles like that, and there are initiators who are supports, and they just get relegated to the support role generally, although there are initiators in other lanes too. But for example, Leona is a support who has no defensive capabilities for her AD carry. She doesn't have any shield. She doesn't have any blocking abilities. She doesn't have any abilities that allow her to protect her AD carry other than what she does is she does CC. She goes in, she has a dash in, and then she just has a ludicrous amount of lockdown potential. And she will just lock down the enemy until they cannot move. And that is what her skill set is. And she does a little bit of damage as well, obviously, as every champion does. But it's interesting because there's that. Another champion that is relegated to the support role, but has to play support differently than many other champions. And then there are pick champions, right? So that's what I was talking about when I was talking about earlier, Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is a pick champion. He has a hook, which allows him to yank an enemy to himself. And so that means that that's one of his main abilities. And then he has a knock up and a silence. So he has 3 forms of CC. His whole thing is he initiates fights or gets picks. He pulls a champion out of the enemy stack for his team to kill to get them in ahead during the next fight. Or he initiates fights by picking an enemy that will create a fight that the other team will try to protect, and then he initiates the fight and forces the fight to start on his own terms, on his team's terms, rather than on the enemy's terms. So there are a lot of different ways to play League of Legends similarly, and definitely agree. You should pick roles and champions that more focus on your personality over just whether or not you want to play support and this is a good support, or you want to play mid and this is a good mid. Because once again, there's that in every lane in League, I think. You have different champions that have different skill sets that focus on different things, and it's not all about kills and it's not all about gold. In fact, there are games where you were behind the whole game and until the very end, and we're behind in gold and behind in kills, and we still win because we play objectively focused, and we got dragons and we got Baron and we got towers and stuff like that, instead of just going for winning laning phase. We won the team fight phase. So it's like, that's a whole thing in League 2 where there are different modes of playing League of Legends, just like Dota. I would say it is in that way just as complicated as Dota 2, but I feel like in League, they don't differentiate so much with the terminology. The champions are relegated into the 5 roles as a general speaking term, but then they have multiple roles, and also you just have to know their kit to know what they're good at and whether or not you want to play them based on, your personality and play style, because your personality affects your play style a lot. That's very true. It's very interesting. I know a lot of people who are very aggressive, who are good at certain roles and very bad at other champions because they are aggressive personalities and they play the game aggressively because their personality is aggressive. So very much similar in League of Legends as to Dota there. You don't just have to get kills to win League. That is very true. I've won games behind by 20, 30 kills, honestly, in League of Legends. It's rarer because it's significantly harder. You have to have a team comp that is set up to do that. Your team has to be prepared to do that. Same thing, I think, in Dota as well, where it's like, if you are going to win 20 kills behind the enemy team, you have to have a team comp that has these skills that allow you to do that. So I feel like League and Dota are not so different in that way. You just have to be aware of what the champions can do and what the lane can do. So, yeah.
Well, another thing is just that I forgot to mention is that this is something that applies for people that want to take that next step, who want to try to win. Because at the end of the day, guys, it's just a game. If that hero is cool, but it doesn't really fit your personality, but you want to play it, just play it. If you're playing casually, you want to have fun, you'll eventually get better at it, you'll eventually do better at it, right? Yep. But we're talking about, let's say, you're past that stage. You no longer just want to have fun with League, but rather you want to have fun and win games and get MMR and get to the next rank. You need to start thinking about the game in different ways, because at that point, it's no longer just what's my favorite hero. It's, what do I do best as a player? And what hero can I pick that fits what I do best?
100%.
And start working with that, because when those two things work together, when the player and the hero fit each other, that's when the magic happens. That's when the people start getting the 1v fights. That's when people start carrying from whatever position they're in.
And being able to play behind the enemy when they're ahead overall, and you're the only lane that's winning. Being able to win games like that. I agree.
Because I get the way I play Dota, especially when I started realizing it, is that in the early game I like playing ham. I like going in. I like starting shit. But later on, I calm down. I realized that my net worth difference between the enemy core and me is now very large. I tone it down and start slowing down, and I focus more on the objective rather than trying to go in first, because I can no longer go in first. I'll just fucking die, right? So it was funny the other day. I was queuing with Belk again, and that just happened where we're now 30 minutes into the game. If I get caught, I'm dead and I'm basically useless.
Right.
So what I do is I start focusing more on vision, because now we get to the point of the game where it's not so much about who has farm. Both teams now have a lot of farm, right?
Yeah.
And now it's about the team fight. So I decided that, all right, because of this, what's important right now for my play, for my team, is vision. So I snuck behind the enemy tier 2. I used a smoke and I put a ward down. And not a minute later passes and we catch the enemy team grouping up and smoking. And I catch that with my ward. And I'm like, guys, they're smoking. They're going from their mid to bottom. And that way, because of that ward, my team we positioned in the high ground. We had a good defense. And when the smoke broke, we won the team fight, because we knew what was coming. And then from there, 5 minutes later, the entire enemy base was gone, and we won, right?
Yep.
Kind of like that. Not trying to toot my horn here so much as it's play the things that you find most success with. Try to understand what you do. Try to understand what you do best, and that's really difficult, right? That's when that's not an easy thing to do. I'm talking about it like it's such a natural thing to figure out. It's like no. This is why playing with a duo partner is so useful. This is why people hire coaches. It's because sometimes you need a second opinion. Sometimes you need a second perspective to realize what are the things that you do best and what are the things you do worst, right?
Yep.
Because it's playing with Belk that I realized that, okay, some things that I do well are vision. I get that vision down. I do those 140 IQ plays where I put a word in a spot where nobody expects, and I catch information that it's basically game winning. And it's those little things that have won me 10 out of 100 games, right? Not every game is won because I catch the enemy teams with a well-placed word. It's more 1 in 10 that I do it. But it's that extra little edge that makes me win my MMR.
Yeah.
All right.
100%.
So try to find what's that little thing that you do that makes you win games out of left field.
Yep.
Try and it's a lot easier to do it if you watch your own replays, but that's boring and time consuming, and let's be honest, you're not gonna do that, right? B, play with someone else.
Yeah.
Right.
Play with a duo queue partner or a group too. A group can do that as well.
And when that duo partner, when that group starts flaming you, try to see why they're flaming. Listen to them. Yep. He ha ha, fuck you kind of thing, whatever. But try to, in the back of your mind, try to understand where they're coming from. Why is it that they think that you're
winning his trades,
that you're being retarded? Hey, there you go.
Yeah. Right. Even since we started doing it, he actually has improved, which I think is pretty funny. But yeah, and then sometimes we'll be playing a game. He'll be like, "Tilly, I won that trade," and I'm like, "I'm so proud of you." That's great.
But one time, this guy is gonna be like, "Hey, Tilly, you're being retarded," Hey,
no, it's already happened 100%.
It's already, Try to understand
where shouldn't be there. Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't be here. Yeah.
But that's gold. That's valuable. That's what lets you learn and lets you. Get to that again. Get to that next rank.
I agree. I think that paying attention to what your teammates are saying to you is very important. And it's interesting because I try not to give too much unsolicited advice to the newbies that I'm playing with, but occasionally I'll be like, you need to focus on this instead. But yeah, I try not to. Sometimes I go overboard and then they yell at me to shut the fuck up, and that's fine.
Oh yeah,
but yeah. That's
absolutely.
But yeah. Anyways, anything else exciting happening for you the next couple of days?
Yeah, I did have something exciting happening. Although it's not the most positive story, so I don't want to talk for too long about it.
Okay.
And that is that I quit my D&D group.
Oh dear.
I quit my D&D group. Yeah. I couldn't take it anymore in mid-session. I was like, I gotta go. I can't be here anymore. And then I left. And
yeah,
now that the podcast, we're getting the podcast to slow down a little. We're gonna hit our last little topic here. So what happened was that I came to the realization that I was not having fun.
Yeah.
And it's not like I suddenly realized that I was not having fun. It's more like the DM pissed me off so hard. But I realized that the reason I was getting pissed, the reason I got tilted, the reason I molded, is because I wasn't having fun this whole time. Because when I looked at it, when I felt that way, I took a step back and I realized that it's been something that's been leading up to this for a few months now, right?
Right.
And at that moment, I was feeling emotional, and I was like, no, I need to step out, because if I stay here, I'm going to do something stupid and I'm going to offend someone. So I was like, sorry, I got to leave. I got to go. And then I left. Later that week, or earlier last week, I sat down with the DM and we talked about what was going on. And I explained to him, hey man, I just feel like fun was not priority number one for like the past 4 months that I've been playing with you, right? I was like, I want you to look back at the last 10 sessions that we've had. I can tell you right now, I've only had fun in retrospect. I've only had fun in 2 of them. But I feel like this is because you, as a DM, have been prioritizing your story over my fun, or the party's fun, or everybody's fun in general, right?
Yeah.
It felt like he was trying to make everything fit, everything work, right? Instead of making sure that the party was having fun. And I started just going down. I was like, it feels like the sessions are more like we're going through the paces rather than we're trying to have fun.
Yeah.
And there was other things too, like the party was not really, it was like they were not really trying to like role play much. Well, they were in their own way, but not like in like we're not like in we're gonna talk about this useless thing for like 40 minutes straight kind of role play, right? They were doing like they were trying to role play, but it didn't feel like it was the fun kind of role play. It felt like it was more like those, am I role playing my character right kind of role play,
Right.
And I was like, I wasn't having fun, I was thinking, I gave this man so many opportunities because we've almost hit a year since we started playing D&D in that campaign, and I was like, I was always waiting. It was felt to me like I was waiting for something to happen. Let me tell you, another thing that made me realize just how absurd it was is that we had just reached level 7, right? Level 7. That's not like a small thing. For those that don't know, level 7 is pretty high up there in terms of like investment of your character, right? Sure, it's not level 18, 20, whatever, no, but still, level 7 is a pretty chunky milestone. And not only was the rarest item that we had found a bag of holding up until that point. That's it. The entire party was level 7, and the rarest item we had with us was a bag of holding. And we had to buy it. We didn't even find it. We had to buy it. Anyways. But the other like little thing that was like the straw that brought the camel's back is that I came to the realization that I wasn't having fun, not only because of what I said about the DM prioritizing his story over the fun, but because, my God, we haven't fought a single boss once. We're level 7, and all we fought is bandits and animals, and like one fantasy creature that kind of beat the shit out of us. That was fun, but that was, still, we've been doing this for 10 months now, and that's it.
Right.
There's no. I was like, bro, we're playing Dungeons and Dragons. Where are my dragons? Yeah. Yeah. Where's my boss enemies? And what happened that made me like quit completely? It's like, okay, there's been this like thing that's been leading up to where we are for like the past 6 months, right? So there's been this build up happening for the past 6 months, and I was like, okay, so here comes the boss, right? Here comes the boss, right? It's like very obvious, and we had this big pre-fight, and then everybody was like, okay, now we want to take a long break so we can get a spell slots back, right? And then the DM was hinting at me really fucking hard, don't take the long break, you need to go right now, kind of thing. And I was like, okay, party, chop chop, we need to go, we can't just rest here, things are happening, if we sleep for 8 hours, your actions have consequences, kind of thing, because it was one of those campaigns. And the party was like, no, we're gonna sleep. Took the long rest. I wake up, and the DM is sending me DMs and being like, your goddess is now upset at you. You broke your pact, even though I'm not a paladin. You broke your pact. You don't get your spell slots back. You're basically, I was getting berated by my goddess and punished in game for not convincing the party to move. And I was like, well, that fucking sucks. That was fucking frustrating because I really tried. So whatever. I was annoyed. I was really fucking annoyed, but like I kept going. So whatever. We're gonna go into this boss fight, and something bad's gonna happen. But at least we're gonna get our boss fight, right? So we get to the boss area. All the relevant NPCs are dead and mutilated on the floor, and the boss is gone. And then the party, being the party that I've been dealing with for the past 10 months, were like, oh no, they're freaking out, they're role-playing, freaking out, okay, they're sad, And I'm like, that was the boss fight, man, right there.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm out.
Yeah, that was supposed to be our moment. That was supposed to be like
the cool thing that's been leading up for the past 6 months.
Yeah, we've been building this up for 6 months. This is supposed to be the moment. And the moment's gone.
And sure, some fault is on the party for not taking the hints, right? But the one who is the most at fault, and the ones who is the most responsible for this, and this is what I was talking to the DM, is the DM. It's like, you knew this was going on. You could have changed your story a little bit so it fit the party and it fit the fun that the party's trying to have. But no, you decided that your story making sense is more important than your players having fun.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was like, hey man, it's been 10 months that I've been giving you 5 hours of my Sunday, for 10 months. And at the end of the day, you failed to deliver. I was trying to, I was being nice. I was not like trying to berate my DM. I was like, I can't anymore.
Yeah.
I can't be sacrificing so much of my spare time for you to do this shit to me.
Yeah.
For you to have my goddess berate my character, for you to punish me for not playing perfectly, and for you to take away the fun because it fit your story better, rather than having your players, mold the story and have fun. I was like, no.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, man, I'm gonna do this and that, and I cannot make you any promises. I was like, okay, cool. I'm out.
Yeah.
It's just that easy. No, I don't trust you. I don't trust you anymore. That's basically what I was like. I don't trust you anymore that you will prioritize fun, because you had 10 months to pull this shit off and you failed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, it's just the truth is in the pudding. Look at us. Level 7. No magic items and no boss. No dungeons. We're playing D&D. We're playing Dungeons and Dragons. There's no dungeons, and there's no fucking dragons. There's no loot. There's no fantasy. Yeah. There's only your story in your head, which, by the way, we've been trying to figure out for this whole time. But he's been so fucking secretive about the whole thing and so slow about it that it's just unfun. My God, we had 2 entire sessions in the middle of this forest trying to figure out the plot, because it's so complicated and it's so mysterious. And it's like, we're just sitting there talking to this NPC, trying to figure shit out for 2 sessions straight. We didn't do anything. We just sat there, and the NPC was like, and then our players were like, and then I was like, fuck this shit, man. In my head, obviously not in character. I was like, no, I was done. And what really annoys me about this whole thing is that I didn't catch on to it fast enough. The blame is also on me. I should have said something. I should have been like, I should not have let it get up until that point. I should have seen the writing on the wall, because it was written on the wall for a long time, that I'm not having fun, that we're just going through the paces, that nothing exciting is happening. And it sucked. But I was like, it's something that I've learned from, especially from my previous relationship. It's a skill that I've gathered. Is like, if something is not being, it's something that is supposed to be good, fun, and entertaining, and a good time, it's not, and it's a chore, and it is frustrating,
Yeah.
Sure, I may have looked like an asshole by ditching everybody else, but no, I don't feel that way. I don't feel like an asshole. I feel like I prioritize my mental health first, and I let go of what was keeping me down the moment I realized that was going on, and I feel proud for it. I feel like I did good. It sucked that it sucks that I left the session the way that I did, but I had to, and I like, it takes a lot of, I think it takes a lot of like mental maturity to like realize that was going on, and just straight up leave. Just go.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that it's an important lesson to learn. I do want to just, I guess, throw a warning in here and saying that there are definitely things that are worth fighting for if the people there are going to work with you. Like if it's like a D&D campaign and you're like, I am not having fun right now, but then the rest of the party is like, and the DM is like, all right, well, like, how can we fix that? How can we make that fun? What can we do? And they actually work with you. But in this instance, it definitely feels like the DM had 10 months to make something good, and it might be good in their head. But the problem is that, and this is something that I've experienced, and I have a couple of things. And one of the things is, I don't remember who it was, but one of the very big DMs, it might even be like Matthew Mercer or something like that. And it's very close. The reason why it's stuck in my brain is because it's very close to a quote from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is, in D&D, when you're DMing, one of the most important things is to understand the rules in the world that you've developed. But the thing that's more important than understanding that is understanding when to stuff those.
Yeah.
When those do not matter, because it is more important that your players have a good time exploring the world that you're doing, or at least have the intentional time exploring the world that you're doing. Here's the thing is, like, I've played a D&D campaign that was entirely horror focused, that was awful, but it was intentionally awful. Like, that's the thing. That was part of the fun, was the fact that, oh God, this sucks. Wow, what the fuck? Like, and you had to think, and it was hard and it was challenging, and that was part of the fun. But if it's not set up, if it's set up like a normal D&D campaign, and that was a very edge case scenario, and it also played off of, like, the DM had to be very good at doing what they did, because at the same time they also had to balance funny in there a little bit, and us enjoying ourselves and winning occasionally. Otherwise it was just bad. And now it's like, I'm involved in this project of, I never want to be a DM. I don't want to, because I am a writer. And I have a story, and I want things to go to the story. But what's funny is, right now, I am helping a DM write. I am not writing the thing. And the nice thing about that is, it means I have no attachment to what actually happens. I'm writing this thing, helping them write this thing. But if they derivate from that or change that because it makes it more fun for the players, I am okay with that. And the main thing that I'm writing is, I am helping him to write the story and then the lead up to the big boss fight for these people. And he's doing his own thing. So, like, these players are whack powerful. They're crazy powerful. Okay. They have like multiple abilities that allow resurrection of dead party members style. Okay. So they're very strong. The boss has an ability that is so overpowered. It's a ticking time bomb ability, and every 3 turns, it's going to do 50% of their missing health.
Oh, Jags.
damage. Yeah. Wild.
So if they're ever at 33% less health,
33% of their health, they are just dead on that turn. So yeah, and also this is the other thing that he has, which I don't think anybody watches the podcast. Maybe I shouldn't say it because I know some of the people in the party might watch the podcast. But he has another ability that I'll tell you about after the podcast.
Okay.
That after the fight, we'll have to come back to this someday after they fight him. Broken ability that is it's gonna make them suffer and it's gonna be great. Anyways,
cool. So real quick with the whole DM thing. It's like now that you were mentioning that you were helping this other DM, right? It's like absolutely I agree with you. You should not, as a DM, you should not feel attached to any particular part of your story.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing is
also,
if the DM goes and stuffs something that I wrote because it makes more sense in his world or would be more fun for the players, I don't fucking care.
Exactly, and that's what I was. That's what I was
every
talking
DM should
to,
be. Yeah,
that's what I was talking to my DM about. No, again, I clarified to him, hey man, I'm gonna be a little rough here because I have months worth of frustration pent up that I'm gonna let go of them in this conversation. And I hope you understand that. But I was basically just telling him too. It's like, listen, man, if you're a DM and you're sitting down to write the next part of the campaign, you have a list of priorities, right?
Yep.
And in that list of priorities, there is your story, the story you want to tell, and there's the NPCs making sense also, and then there's fun. And you need to, every single fucking time that you sit down, both at the table and to write what the campaign is or what encounters you're writing, understand priority number one, always is fun. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. That's what people play D&D for. That's what people gather for, get their dice, get their character sheets, write their stories, etc. Is because they want to have fun. So, golden rule, I was telling him, it's like, I don't know if this is an actual golden rule or not, but I fucking think it is. Golden rule of being a DM is nothing is above having fun. Whenever you design a setting, sure, it doesn't always have to be rainbows and sunshines. Being sad is also fun sometimes. Having something tragic happen is also fun. Yeah, you gotta balance it out too. But what I'm trying to get to is, you gotta make sure that every time that you sit at the table, the priority is everybody has fun.
Yeah,
always. Nothing is above that. Nothing that you write is more important than that. Nothing that you think makes sense is more important than that. And that's why, like I told you earlier, like, DMs should not feel attached to any particular part of the story, because if you have to sacrifice something for that golden rule, then you do it, because that's more important, whether or not this dragon being here makes sense.
100%. Yep, and 100%. It also is like, I mean, you gotta know when to stuff that. And I mean, like you said, I think there's an importance in having the story make sense and also having the impactful moments happen. So like,
of course. So hold on.
It's not real quick. It's not all flowers and sunshine, like you said, but it is a game, and it is, and one of the huge things, and this is something that really struck me when you said, like, we had no magical items. D&D is a power fantasy.
It is. It's a fantasy.
And the fun isn't necessarily winning, but the fun is being able to do ridiculous things. And if you don't give your players the ability every session to do ridiculous things, what's the fucking point? Like, I'm playing a rogue, whatever, right? If I don't get to pickpocket somebody at least once a session, why am I playing this class? Like, that is like I have entire skills devoted to that. If I don't get to do it, then what's the point?
Your entire profession is being sneaky and stealing people's shit.
Exactly. If I don't get to do that, what's the point? Same exact thing is like, okay, so I was a bard. I was playing a bard that happened to be a dancer. I'll use the Twitch appropriate term. So Every night we stopped in a tavern. Every night I left with more money than I went in. That's funny.
That is hilarious.
Everybody thought it was great because it made sense with the story. It made sense with the character, but also it was just goofy because that was the thing is I had the skills to do that. Therefore, I did it every single session because that was an element of my character. And so it's like, that's the thing is if you don't allow your players to do the things that their characters are good at, you're failing as a DM. And that's something that's really hard, especially if you have a party with a bard.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted to get to. That I like that you mentioned that word. That's hard. That's difficult. And
it's very hard.
I want everybody who's still listening, God forbid anybody is still listening, that as much as I'm criticizing my DM and as much as I'm like praising this, saying that, being a DM is fucking difficult.
Yeah.
Right? It's not easy. It's absolutely not easy. But and part of what's difficult about being a DM is that there's all these crazy complicated things happening all over the place, right?
Yep.
That you have to keep track of. But again, just to reinforce what I'm saying, is if you're a DM and you're struggling with keeping up with your players, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. That means you're probably having fun.
Yeah.
Don't ever do anything that jeopardizes that fun.
Yeah.
Your job as a DM is to enhance whatever your players are doing. You know, make sure that they're doing something stupid. Okay, in your back of your mind, you should be like, where can this lead, and what can I make happen that would be funny or interesting or relevant, right?
Yeah.
Towards the fun that my players are having. It's not easy. It's not easy, and that's why it's even more special. It's more important that you don't overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, just have that golden rule.
Yep.
Just have fun.
Yep.
Everything else secondary to that.
Yeah.
So if you feel overwhelmed as a DM, go back to that rule and think yourself, does it make sense? Maybe not. Are we having fun? Yes. Then continue. You're doing a great job. You know. But if you're ever like you're feeling overwhelmed and you're worrying more about if this rule is being broken or not, if this is okay or not, if this makes sense or not, stop.
Yep.
Take a step back. Think about how your players are feeling at this moment in time and be like, is this fun or not? Yes?
Yeah.
Great. Let's make it more fun. No? What do I need to change, even if I have to break rules, to turn it into a fun thing? You know, that it's just that simple. You know, it's simple, but not easy.
A funny thing that I wanted a DM to do and he didn't end up doing was this. So he introduced a big bad guy to us. That was supposed to be like the big bad guy that we were going to fight. And he was going to be like the nemesis along the whole thing. And then we killed him first time we met him. We had really good rolls. We had really good luck. We had set everything up. I had befriended like a couple of enemies that ended up helping us fight him and made us way stronger than like the intended difficulty level of the battle. And so we won. And he was really upset that we'd won. And we were like, you can take back rolls. But I came up with an even better idea a week later, which I was like, this is what you should do. And we never ended up doing this. But I was like, this is what you should do. You should say that the big bad guy we fought was actually the mini-me of the actual big bad guy. And then just have him come back. Because imagine how terrifying that would be. We fucking murdered the shit out of a dude. And then next month, there he is. And not only is he back, he's stronger and harder than ever. And better than ever. Like, and it's the funny joke of like the American vet that comes back because he got his leg blown off by an IED, and then he gets a prosthetic leg, and then fucking goes right back and
that escalated quickly.
Like, that's fucking scary. Imagine that in D&D though, because that's like the level. It's like you kill the fucker, and now here he is back and mad.
Yeah. But that's one of the things that they can do. Yeah, that's one of. But that's the thing. But that's the key thing. It's like, you know, your DM has that happen. So understand that as a DM, you're in a special role. You are holding information that no one else in the table has. So if you find yourself in a situation like that, do something like Tilly. Not exactly what Tilly said, because depending on the situation, may or may not.
Yeah, that may not work.
Be the best. May not work. But think of a workaround. Okay, that doesn't work. All right, so the big bad evil guy turned out was not that guy. It was the patron of that guy. Now you gotta fight this god. You guys proved yourself. You're worthy to fight this even more bigger evil now. Yeah. Why? Because there's the fun.
There's the fun.
There you go. Yeah, just chase the fun. Adjust things, make up things, break the rules, but make sure that every time there is fun to be had. Never go into a session and just tell your players, okay, just role play this session. Like, no. It's a big red flag. Unless you have something prepared, right? Of course, you're gonna surprise your players.
Or unless you have a party of 5 bards.
A what now?
A party of 5 bards.
Oh,
where all they want to do is roleplay and talk to NPCs, because manipulating NPCs is their skill set. But it's still like, that's the thing, is like, that's what I was saying. And that's one of the things that I think makes DMing so challenging, is you have a fighter whose entire skill set, you want to, obviously, you want to enable his skill set, but a fighter's entire skill set is whack things as hard as possible. Same as like a barbarian, right? And then you also have a bard in your party who, let's be honest, playing bard combat, it's pretty boring. It's not that fun. It's really hard to do well in combat as a bard because your skills are not really combat focused. And so you also have to enable the bard to be able to have fun too. And he's probably not going to have fun if every single session is rolling dice to fight monsters, because he's a bard. He's not, it's going to get really boring for him to cast Vicious Mockery and roll Bardic Inspiration 97 times a session. Like, that is not fun. And so give your bard the capability to interact with NPCs, but also give your fighter the capability to swing his big ass fucking sword at some goblin's neck. Like, you have to do both. You can't have one or the other. And you can have sessions that are entirely role play, but make them interesting, make them lead somewhere, make your fighter get involved.
And I think that was the biggest. I think looking back at the campaign, I think that was like the biggest thing, because the DM and I, we actually did spoke a lot, because I wanted this campaign to work out. I wanted to have fun, and this was like the very first like big campaign that he was doing. So I sat down with him, I talked, and he told me, and I should have realized this sooner, but he told me, I want my game to be like an open world where you guys can go wherever you want and do whatever you want. So then we realized that every time that he opened the session with us, he didn't have an expectation for how to like and make sure that we're having fun. He was like, I created the world, you guys explore it and basically play it like it's Minecraft and make your own fun. No, man. I should have realized that sooner. It's not make your own fun. Of course, everybody's here roleplay. Everybody's here playing the theater of the mind. Everybody's having fun in their own. Everybody's having or making their own fun already in their heads. But you, as a DM, you are that guide. You're the guide that tells the players the fun is over there. Go over there. Yeah. Or okay, you didn't go over there. You went somewhere else. This, over here, this fun thing is happening in this area now, or this interesting thing is happening here, or there's a robbery here.
You didn't go to my pre-planned fun. Now I have to ad-lib fun for you. Yeah,
correct.
Which is once again ludicrously difficult. But yeah, I think it's a hard job.
It is tough. It is absolutely. It's a very thankless job too. But I'm glad that in recent time it's getting more popular for DMs to ask for payment per session. A lot of remember when that came out a few years ago, it was a big drama in like a bunch of forums that would go to. It's like, oh, this DM is actually asking for payment for his campaign on a session basis, and everybody was like, this guy sucks, blah blah blah. It's like, this is against the spirit of D&D. No, it's not.
Yeah,
being a DM is borderline a job.
Yeah,
especially if you have like a group that meets every week. It is not easy. It takes a lot of creativity. It takes a lot of imagination, a lot of game knowledge, and a lot of other skills that no person ever thinks that they will need when they first start getting into DMing.
Yeah.
So every single person who wants to become a DM, hey, you're in over your head. Absolutely. 100%. You have no idea what you're getting into. But people do it anyways.
Yep.
And understand that, yes, I criticized my DM. Yes, I went off on him a little bit. But know that I tried my best to not flame him. And I communicated to him that I was in not the best emotional state. And I told him that I acknowledged that being a DM is fucking difficult. It is not easy. It's funny that he did tell me, and I knew this, he's a new DM, right? This was his first big campaign. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry about this and that, it is my first campaign. And I was like, hey, I know what you're saying. I understand where you're coming from. But you now have been doing this for 10 months. Wake up. You're not a new DM anymore. You are not, that excuse does not work with you anymore. You've been doing this shit for 10 months. Guess what? I told him, I hereby graduate you from being a noob DM. You are no longer a noob DM.
Yeah.
Stop using that excuse.
You've been doing it long enough.
Yeah, I told him. Yeah. Like, I shouldn't be telling you this. I should be asking you, hey, how do I DM? That's what I told him. Because kind of like, I saw the kind of mentality that he was in. And again, being a DM is not easy, but at the same time, you can't be like that. You can't just be like, oh, I'm just bad at it. No. Yeah. Especially if you've done a campaign for 10 months, holy shit, that's a big achievement. I had to wake him up in a sense. It's like, you're no longer a new DM and you're not the worst DM ever. You are experienced. So own up to your mistakes, learn from them, and be better next time. That's basically what I was telling him. Yeah. I was like, you no longer get to use that excuse of, oh, I'm a noob DM. It's like, no. Yeah. No. Your campaign, you've run it for 10 months. That's a big achievement. Yeah, that's a big achievement. Just stop. Yeah. Stop thinking that you're bad.
Yeah.
You can do it. Just acknowledge your mistake.
Yeah.
You fucked up. Acknowledge it. Be better 100%. Because of it. Yeah, that's where basically we ended the conversation there. Yeah. Oh, but yeah, that
very
was
good. Well, I hope that it goes well for him, and I hope that maybe if you want to, you can find another D&D campaign to join.
I did tell him, hey, if you do hear of another campaign, do let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to play another campaign with you. I told him. Just not this one.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, we are approaching well over 2 hours now.
Yeah, that's a chunky stream.
It'll be all right. It's fine. We've had longer episodes for sure.
That's true.
So yeah, Hallik, where can we find you?
All right, guys. I'm looking to debut by the end of next week. I'm just waiting for a couple things. But you can find me in Twitter at Hallik25. It's HALLIK25. That is officially my Twitter now. And I'm trying to learn how to do this Twitter thing. So I'm trying to make at least one post every day. That's like my little goal right now. The other place where you guys can find me is twitch.tv/Hallik_VT. I've actually rebranded my channel to take the number out. Because it feels like it's less childish that way. Yeah. At least it feels so in my head, so that's what I went with. So my Twitch got changed. And in my Twitch and in my Twitter, you guys can find a Discord invite to my personal content creator Discord. So
it's a good place to be. There. I'm in there. It's a funny place. We post memes of rabbit pics and we talk. Yes. And I make fun of Hallik and Genshin.
Yes.
A lot.
Yes, he does.
That's mostly what I do.
All right, Tuli, where can we find you?
All right, you can find me TikTok, Cthulhu Tilly. I've actually been posting some rock climbing stuff there if you're interested in that. I'm also going to start hopefully doing some more editing. You can also find there is a Chatting in the Void TikTok, although there isn't really anything on it yet. I still need to get that together. There is also, I'm on Instagram at Cthulhu Tilly. There's also a Chatting in the Void Instagram. Follow us there as well. Hopefully I'm going to start making content for that as well. You can also find me on Twitter at Cthulhu Tilly, as well as on Twitter at Chatting in the Void. I think it's actually Chatting the Void because it was too many characters, which is annoying. Thanks, Twitter. Anyways, yeah.
Well, our hashtag can be Chatting in the Void, though.
Yes, our hashtag will be Chatting in the Void. We're going to try and start tweeting more as well about just stuff. I probably will see if I can tweet some funny things at some point. Whatever funny thing appears in my brain every now and then, maybe. And then also, obviously, you can find me here on Twitch at Cthulhu Tilly. Please follow if you're here and you haven't followed yet. As well as you can find 200
follows.
This podcast, Chatting in the Void. You can find it anywhere where podcasts are found. It's on YouTube. It's on Spotify. It's on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, it's Deezer. Everywhere. Just go look it up, whatever podcast app you have. I can promise you it's Tuli. There. I'm on.
It's there. Yes. Real quick, Tuli. Real quick. I was streaming the other day and I was watching a friend's stream. I was watching Belk's stream actually. And I was talking about the whip. I don't know if you remember that episode too. I was telling him,
yes.
Hey, check out, if you want to hear about that, check out my podcast. And he actually found it. So our discoverability is there. So it works.
Our discoverability is there. Just Google Chatting in the Void. You will find
You guys have no excuse. Motherfuckers, you'll have... Yeah, exactly. You have no excuse.
Exactly. Chatting in the Void. They're not hard words to spell. Put them in Google. I'm sure you can make a couple spelling errors. You'll still find us. Discoverable. So please follow us there. Follow the podcast. It's been a really great time developing it and being on it and co-hosting it. Hopefully we're going to get a guest next week. We'll see if that works out next weekend.
Yeah, we gotta get Belk in there.
Yep, got to get Belk in there. I also have another guest, Azzy Wazzy Bear, who is another streamer who just went live. I'm actually probably going to go watch her stream. I don't know what she's doing yet.
Right now?
Yeah, she's live right now. I might raid her.
You should. Do it.
But yeah, it's been lovely. Thank you all for joining. Hope to catch you next time in the Void.
Alrighty.
Bye-bye. We appreciate you listening to Chatting in the Void with Cthulhu Tilly and Hallik. You can find a video version of our podcast on YouTube and our audio podcast anywhere where podcasts are found. Go give Hallik a follow at twitch.tv/Hallik_VT, and please check out any guests we might have had on. You can catch our podcast live at 7 p.m. EST most Saturdays or sometimes Sundays. If you want to know when we are live, please join our Discords linked below. Have a wonderful day, or night, or whatever. Thank you for joining us in the Void. We hope to see you next time.